Are you ready for the most bullish warning of our lifetime?
You should be scared if you don't own Bitcoin. You should be very, very worried.
Billionaire! Tim Draper just warned every country, company, and family on the planet. And why should they be afraid, Tim?
If the dollars that you own are suddenly worthless, what are you going to do?
You better hold Bitcoin or prepare for a world of pain. Now, Draper was warning of currency and bank collapses, but there's a few more reasons you may want to hold some Bitcoin. Because the US Treasury is not going to spend less money. Donald Trump is not talking about how he's going to reduce spending. It's all about wartime spending. Jerome Powell is chalking up the deuces, saying farewell this afternoon, and in comes whoosh. We are entering a new era. So what's the end game? The end game is this. $10 million Bitcoin, and Michael Saylor just said the $300 trillion credit market is about to send Bitcoin parabolic.
You're talking about between 20 and 100 billion dollars worth of credit formation in the next 12 months. And there's only $10 billion of Bitcoin naturally available for sale. So I think that we're setting up a massive supply shock. There ought to be a rally in BTC.
We have a massive show today. Tim Draper's warning. Michael Saylor's engineered supply shock. What it means for Bitcoin and what that future world of pain might look like.
It was better after 9/11. You had more fun in this country after 9/11 than you are having right now. It's true. You had more fun after 9/11 than you are having right now. Right now is one of the bleakest periods that I've ever lived through. And it's the most technologically advanced time that we have. The things that you can do technologically now are beyond anything that has ever been done in history. But in order to enjoy it, you have to be a sociopath.
Strap the hell in. We got some insanely bullish developments to get to. Send it!
Say to people, I used to say, hey, buy some Bitcoin. It's fun. It's interesting. Might be kind of an interesting thing to hold on to. Now I say, you better hold Bitcoin. If you want to protect your family, you want to protect your company, you want to protect your country, you better have some Bitcoin. In fact, it's irresponsible now for a company to operate and have a big treasury and not have some portion of that, 5, 10, 15% in Bitcoin. Because, well, when Silicon Valley Bank went out of business, we almost saw the domino effect. We almost lost all the banks right there. And if that ever happens, you, as leaders of your businesses, are going to be responsible for payroll for at least 2, maybe 4 weeks. And if you're in Europe, you're responsible for payroll for years. And so you better have some Bitcoin on your balance sheet so you can make those payroll and keep your business afloat. If you run a family, if you manage a family's money, you ought to have about 6 months worth of Bitcoin, because if the dollars that you own are suddenly worthless, what are you going to do? And if you're a government, and if there is hyperinflation in your government, and the currency goes the way the old Argentinian peso or the Nigerian naira went, and you don't hold any Bitcoin, your government coffers are worthless. So it's gone from, telling people, hey, this is a really interesting opportunity, to telling people, you should be scared if you don't own Bitcoin. You should be very, very worried.
If the dollars that you own are suddenly worthless, what are you gonna do? That question has never been more relevant and been more prescient than it is today. The truth is, Draper is right. If the fiat game comes to a screeching halt, your government won't be able to help you. Draper gave one of the best speeches at the Bitcoin conference. He explained how stablecoins are fiat. They're still tied to the government, still inflated with government spending. It's not like you get to control them. It's great to see that Tim Draper agrees. F your stablecoins. That is fiat slave money. That is a CBDC. Sly roundabout digital panopticon. I don't know, I'm kinda into sly roundabout sound money and freedom. Which way, Western man? Should be easy. It's 10th grade math. You know what's terrifying? If your government and currency goes the way of the old Argentine peso or the Nigerian naira. That's why Tim Draper is saying you better hold Bitcoin. If you want to protect your family, you want to protect your company, you want to protect your country, because those risks are real today. And the CBDC's social credit score grid is being pushed right now. More on that in a bit, but first, we got a $10 million endgame to get to.
Well, I think Bitcoin's going to rally. I think there's a lot of capital flowing into Bitcoin right now, and at the rate that digital credit is forming, and at the rate you saw our buy this morning, we bought the entire supply last week. Then Strive announced a massive buy. Then there's a massive bank credit coming online. All the big banks, JP Morgan, Citi, Schwab, Morgan Stanley, Barclays, they're all coming online. So I think the formation of, you're talking about between 20 and 100 billion dollars worth of credit formation in the next 12 months. And there's only $10 billion of Bitcoin naturally available for sale. So I think that we're setting up a massive supply shock. There ought to be a rally in BTC. I think that'll catalyze a rally in all the Bitcoin treasury companies. I think it will cause a rally in demand for digital credit. I think there'll be a rally in bank credit. I think the Clarity Act will go through, and there'll be a lot of very constructive guidance from the CFTC, Treasury, and the SEC. I think that will accelerate digital assets innovation. You know, and what's the end game? The end game isn't that complicated. It's give a bank account, an 8 to 10% a year yielding high yield digital bank account to 1 billion people. Drive Bitcoin to $10 million a coin. And make Bitcoin a $200 trillion network until it grows higher. And give everybody in the world an alternative to 20th century credit instruments, zero yielding bank.
There's never been a credit instrument that grew in liquidity like this. It went from 0 to 38 billion a year in run rate. Actually, it's not even a year old. STRC is an absolute monster accumulator, and that's for large institutions, pensions, etc. Oh, but wait, you're saying this is bad for Bitcoin? Maybe bad for the bears? So let me get this straight. You think people should buy Bitcoin? Well, yeah, like, of course. As much as they can? Yes, of course, as much as they want. Because fiat is broken and Bitcoin is scarce? Exactly. Great. So Saylor did that. No, that's bad. He didn't change the supply, didn't touch the code, didn't move your node, didn't get a single extra sat printed. He just bought a lot. You literally spent 15 years saying Bitcoin was inevitable. Then one guy believed you at scale. And now you're against the fire department because they brought too much water. Such an asshole. Here's what actually happened. Saylor embarrassed the small imagination of his critics. They thought adoption meant vibes and JPEGs and bananas and your hoo-has and conferences. He saw a global capital structure starving for collateral and built a machine to convert fiat into Bitcoin. The critics are standing outside the machine yelling it's too effective. Bitcoin doesn't care. The protocol doesn't care. 21 million doesn't care. The problem was never that Saylor betrayed Bitcoin. The problem maybe is that he believed in it a little harder than some people. Maybe you're new here. It involves something called conviction. So maybe you need to ask yourself, Are you all in on the chair?
But when you go all in on something, I would say that does take conviction. Now, your
How,
conviction might
how
be
many
coming from
chairs
first
are you sitting on
principles.
right now?
One,
Are you all in on the chair?
I am all in on the chair.
Like the point really is you put on one pair of glasses, you've got one pair of AirPods right now. You're looking at me through one screen. You're using one microphone. That's a one microphone. Like, you trust it? Is that conviction? Seems kind of scary. Why don't you diversify? Why don't you use 10 microphones? The point really is things in your life. Do you drive in 10 cars at the same time or one car at one time? Do you drive down one street? Aren't you afraid that you're driving down one street? Do you take a different way? You know? So my point really is, if you're you get on one airplane, are you convicted? You put your entire family on the one airplane, aren't you afraid? Ultimately, if you're a rational individual, when you use knives, do you have copper knives, wooden knives, steel knives, aluminum knives, rubber band knives, diamond knives, because you're afraid to commit to the right knife? It's a tool.
Oh, what a classic. It never gets old. But STRC is for a certain investor. It's not immutable money. It's not censorship resistant. It's a financial product designed to entice that fixed income market, which is absolutely massive, as well as the weaklings who can't handle volatility or handle the volatility on their books in downturns. These are not people with conviction. They are investors who are stuck in a 3% fiat purgatory. Now, hate it or love it, whatever, it doesn't matter, and that doesn't change what is. And what is a rate of Bitcoin accumulation set to bring about the and that means if you want to protect your family from what's coming, all those things Draper talked about, you don't buy STRC. You take Bitcoin, real Bitcoin, into self-custody. If you want to learn how you can secure your generational wealth the right way, you're going to want to see our friends over at the Bitcoin Way. Not your keys, not your Bitcoin. If your Bitcoin is on an exchange, it's in MSTR, STRC, it's in IBIT, whatever. That's not your Bitcoin. That's Coinbase's or Larry Fink's. The Bitcoin can be seized, frozen, restricted, you name it, all at the drop of a hat. Bitcoin held in self-custody cannot be frozen, seized, or restricted. The Bitcoin Way sets you up with ironclad self-custody, proper hardware, your own node, full on-chain verification, so your Bitcoin is actually yours. Their team guides you through the entire setup step by step, and they can help with privacy phones, Plan B residency, and so much more. No single point of failure is standing between you and your generational wealth. Book your free 30-minute consultation right now, scanning that QR code or clicking the link in the show notes, and begin your journey towards sovereignty today, the Bitcoin Way. Okay, now you already got the big warning from Tim Draper, but there is another Timmy D who also has a warning about the future we seem to be sleepwalking into. You ever just sit back and think how insane the world is, and it's going to get a lot weirder. We're about to bring it home today, but before we do, look at our likes.
3 or 4 times, maybe.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
Inflation is out of hand. Affording a home, making any major purchase is harder than ever. But did you know you can make loans to yourself and pay them off on your own time? Selling Bitcoin means taxes. Selling means exiting your position. Selling means you lose. Ledn fixes that. Bitcoin-backed loans. You keep your stack, you get cash, and you repay whenever you want. Zero penalties, zero monthly payments, and right now Ledn just dropped their lowest rates ever. No fine print, no complexity. The larger the loan, the lower the rate, and you see every number up front before you even apply. Here's why I trust them personally. Your Bitcoin is custodied at all times, never lent out for interest. You get auto top-up protection, LTV alerts, and partial repayment options, so you stay in control through any market condition. That's not marketing. That's literally $10 billion in loans across 8 years with a perfect track record. Every market cycle, not one client's funds have been lost. Don't choose between a great rate and the safety of your Bitcoin. Ledn gives you both. Scan the QR or use the link below and head over to ledn.io today.
Silicon Valley must play a role in addressing violent crime. Oh, here we go. Here it is. Here it is. Many politicians across the United States have essentially shrugged when it comes to violent crime, abandoning any serious efforts to address the problem. Agree on that. Or take any risk with their constituencies or donors in coming up with solutions and experiments in what should be a desperate bid to save lives. So here's what they're doing. They're basically saying, hey, we have technology, and when you read about some of this technology, it's predicting who's going to commit crime. Okay? It's identifying pre-crime. There's all these things that, Whitney Webb came on my show years ago to talk about. There's all these models of criminals that they're building. There's going to be, it's going to be a cradle to the grave surveillance state where you are going to be surveilled on every medium, in every capacity, in every way. They're going to build predictive models on your behavior, and if you're in a high-risk category for crime. There's ways to get rid of crime, by the way, without Palantir. We did it in the 90s in New York. People do it all over the place. Crime is actually kind of low. If you provide people economic opportunities, if you have a well-funded, well-trained police force, if you have public spaces that are kept up, all of these things are important. If you enforce the law and you don't, if you don't let large homeless encampments become open-air drug markets, all of these things can help. But what Palantir is, they're not talking about any of that. Be very clear. They're not talking about, getting homeless people off the streets or making sure the police are funded and trained and capable. They're talking about predictive models of criminal behavior based on AI analysis of all of the things that you've ever said or done. Woo! That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about a couple more cops. They're not talking about that. They're talking about an entirely new way to think about crime, who's going to commit it, why they commit it, and predictive models. This is where they're going.
If you think the state may deem you a thought criminal, will I direct you back to billionaire Tim Draper? You better hold Bitcoin if you want to protect your family, if you want to protect your company, if you want to protect your country, because the risks are bullishly real today. Speaking of risks, when the Treasury can freeze your stablecoins with a phone call and your bank account is one OFAC notice away from being inaccessible, your off-grid sovereignty stack stops being paranoid. It starts being basic hygiene. SAT-123, satellite phones, Starlink kits, Faraday bags and backpacks. The hardware you need to transact, communicate, and self-custody when the grid or the government decides you're inconvenient. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description, and don't forget to use code SIMPLY for 15% off your order. Hey, let us know what you guys think down below. I'm Rustin. This was Simply Bitcoin Originals. Smash the like, hit the subscribe, give us a pap, and I'll get you all next time. Love you guys. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, you.